Hello and welcome back. I've got little Steppers here. You can see his feet. He just ate and woke up from a long nap, so he's just playing down here. And we're going to talk about my March wrap up because it's March 31st and I just finished my final book for March, so I thought it was perfect time to just sit down and film it. So March I read 4 books, and that's like still pretty low numbers for me, but like considering how this year has gone, that's amazing. I've read 4 books because it's been a slow start to the year, but now that like we're getting into a routine and stuff is kind of, I don't know, I'm figuring out things as a mom and getting time for myself, I'm able to read more. So 2 of them were audiobooks. One was an ebook and one was a physical copy. They were all really excellent. 2 of them, the 2 audiobooks were memoirs. I've kind of figured out that I really like memoirs, listening to them when it is narrated by the author, because it's just so much more impactful and the way that they intended it to come across, and I just really like that. Anyway, so we'll start with those. The first audiobook that I read was I'm Glad My Mom Died. If you've seen iCarly, she played the character Sam, which I feel bad saying that after having read that book because she did not love it and was going through a really hard time. Anyway, this was the story of her whole life basically, and how her mom is the reason she got into acting, and just like the way her mom kind of like emotionally and sexually and just like abused her and then manipulated her whole life basically, and then dies from breast cancer and being in the hospital and all that. So it's a really, really, really sad story. Like, it's not happy, but she does an excellent job of telling the story and giving us like a background into her life without like having to explain herself too much and like lay it all out there for like nosy people. It was very well done. There was a part where as she's reading it, like she starts to tear up, and like that really is like the only part of the book that really made me almost cry, because it was like just the emotion was really strong. She does an excellent job. I didn't grow up with cable, so I didn't really watch like Nickelodeon or anything, but like just hearing her talk about how much she hated acting really like breaks my heart, because she just, yeah, I don't know, she went through things that I could not imagine, and like having to be forced into that specific kind of life where it's just like the famous life. If you don't want that, I can understand how that would absolutely suck. That was the first book I read. It was really, really, really good. It was a really easy book to listen to. Like, it was really quick chapters too. Like, they were really short. There was a lot of them, but they were really short. The next memoir that I listened to was A Stolen Life by J.C. Dugard. And this is her memoir of her being kidnapped. So in 1991, J.C. Dugard was kidnapped at the age of 11 by a man named Philip and his wife Nancy on her way to school. And she is not discovered until 18 years later, when she is 29 years old and has 2 kids. So this is also, again, a not very happy story. Very, very sad. Completely heartbreaking, absolutely shocking, just what she went through. She had her first child by the age of 14 and had her second one by 17, 18 years old. And so if you can just imagine that, and just being secluded to one area of a backyard or a house for pretty much 18 years is just absolutely crazy. Anyway, she wrote this book 2 years after she was found, and I would love to like get an updated book, like memoir, just of how she's doing now and how she has kind of got back into society, because that was in 2011. And so that was literally like 12 years ago that she wrote this book. And so much can happen. And I'm pretty sure I learned about her story in one of my psychology classes in college. And that's how I knew I wanted to read this book, because I think she now is out and giving like speeches and talking about her experience and all that stuff. I can't quite remember like what all. The story is written very well. She writes them kind of chronologically, and then in the chapters has a short little reflection area where she just reflects on that, like scenarios or time of her life, like from the time she's writing it. And then as she is going through the book, she's trying to write in the eyes of the 11-year-old, the 14-year-old, the 18-year-old, and just giving us glimpses in how she had thought. And she only had a 5th grade education, so the writing is not like it's very simple. It's just blunt. It's out there. I'm definitely going to give trigger warnings for this if you intend to read it. There is child pornography, rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse, manipulation, so much. Like, I think that's the majority of it. It's really, really sad. So that was another really great story. She did an excellent job narrating it and just putting into like her energy that she's giving. The emotion is great. Eddie, you Snoop. Okay, he's just gonna spy on the neighbors. Okay, the next book that I read, moving on, was the second book. You want to talk? What books did you read? Was the second book in the Wing Feather Saga. This is Northrop B. Eaton. This is by Andrew Peterson. This is a 4-book series, fantasy series of this family who they live in this little town and kind of like homeschool. They kind of work for a couple of people there, and there are these creatures called the Fangs, which are like these lizard folk who kind of patrol the town. They're kind of like the big bad guys who came in and have kind of taken over and like police everything. They aren't very nice. They're there and you just kind of want to stay out of their way. Anyway, the kids find like this treasure map, so then they kind of want to figure out where that's at and what it is, because there was this kingdom called Aniera, and there supposedly are these lost jewels of Aniera, and they are hidden somewhere, so they go off to kind of like find them. They live with their grandpa and their mom. Their dad had died several years ago, and it's just a really great little middle grade epic fantasy. I highly recommend this for so many people. It's so great. Like, there's 3 children. Janner is our main character, then his little brother Tink, and his little sister Lily, who is crippled and has a crutch, and then they have a little dog named Nugget, and he's just so cute. The final book that I read this month was Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. This is one that I had started reading at the very beginning of this month and was kind of reading it on my phone, on my Kindle, when I was nursing. I wasn't reading very much of it, and so I charged up my Kindle and then I like flew through it. A dark fantasy. So our main character, her name is Tasana. She is from the land of Threll, where she was a Threll for several years. She was sold into slavery as a young girl. She is what is called Beltane, so she's kind of a magic wielder, and she is freed from her slavery and goes to the land of Ara, where she is looking for a man named Zareth and the orders there, which are just the magic wielders. And there are 2 types of magic wielders. There is the Beltane, and then there's Solari, and she wants to train. She has to train because she wants the orders to come back and free all the slaves. So she gets dumped at this man named Max's house, who is a Solari, and he reluctantly trains her. And so she is training because she wants to go and free all of the slaves in Thrall. So that sets us up for our book. It was really good. There's this like weapon in this book, unlike any weapon I've read about, and it's really interesting. I don't even really know how to describe it, and the way that they kind of describe what's going on in their mind, really interesting. I felt like it was really slow to start with because when she's training with Max, like I just kind of felt like it was slow, and so I wasn't reading as fast. But then like once she goes to her trials, it like sped up and things got real interesting really fast. So I really like this. This is I think it's a 3-book series, so a trilogy. And I plan to start the second book like ASAP pretty much. It was a really fast read. A little kind of confusing. The world building's a little confusing, but ultimately very enjoyable. One of our main characters, Max, I really do like him. He's kind of just like one of those grumpy old guys that you gotta love. And then he has a best friend named Samarin who has like special physical abilities. Like his magic deals with the physical body, like your body's a living thing, and it's almost like necromancy, but like almost backwards. But he can not really deal with necromancy, but he like is like the opposite of that. I don't really know if that's a thing or what's that called, but I really like his character as well. Those were the 4 books that I read this month. They were all really good, and I definitely recommend the Wingfeather Saga to anyone who likes epic fantasy. Even if you like middle grade, I highly recommend it. It's really great. I'm going to start the 3rd book ASAP. And if you like dark fantasy, Daughter of No Worlds is really good. There was the teensiest amount of spice in it, and it wasn't even till towards the end, and was tasteful. Like, it wasn't smut. It was spice, but it wasn't smut. So I don't know how the rest of the series will be, but that's how the first one was. The 2 audiobooks were pretty rough, pretty dark, really sad. And yeah, so anyway, those were my books. I had a great reading month, and I go back to work on Tuesday. Today is Friday. I want to cry. I've cried pretty much like every day the last week, and I anticipate crying pretty much all day Tuesday. So I don't know, April might be just as good as March, or it might be a little worse depending on stuff, because I feel like when I'm gonna come home, and then when I'm home, I'm gonna want to spend time with my baby, and I don't really get to like read at work. We'll see how April goes. I have so many books that I'm looking forward to reading in April, so hopefully I will get to fly through them. What was your favorite book in March? Please let me know down below with a comment. I would love to see what you guys are reading, and I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I'll see you guys in my next video.